I spent weeks planning a surprise birthday dinner for my wife, but when we walked into the restaurant, my dad had swapped everything with "Happy Birthday, Emma" banners for my stepsister instead. Everyone sang for her, while my wife held back tears. That's when I realized this wasn't just a slip, it was war. I thought I was walking into the perfect birthday surprise for my wife. Instead, I walked into an ambush that shattered everything I believed about my family. The restaurant was buzzing, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses, but the moment I pushed open those doors, the celebratory air twisted into something sickeningly wrong. Pink. Everywhere. And Olivia, my wife, froze beside me, her beautiful smile collapsing into pure shock as a chorus of "Happy Birthday" rang out for my stepsister, Chloe. That's when it hit me. My dad, Robert's earlier curiosity about the balloon colors wasn't just him trying to show interest. It was reconnaissance. And I, clueless, had walked right into their trap. My name is Ethan. I'm 33, and honestly, I'm not a big party for me guy. Confetti, balloons, huge surprises? Not my thing. But Olivia? She's the exact opposite. For our anniversary, she'll plan elaborate scavenger hunts. Before I leave for work, she'll leave me the sweetest notes in my car. She remembers everyone's birthday, even my coworkers she's never met. Olivia pours so much of herself into others, constantly giving, never asking for a single thing in return. So, for her 30th birthday this year, I was determined. I wanted to give her a night that made her feel as cherished and celebrated as she makes every single person around her feel. Now, to understand any of this, you need a quick detour into my family. My parents split when I was a teenager. A few years later, Robert married Brenda, who came with her daughter, Chloe. Chloe was about 4 years younger than me. At first, I didn't really mind her. She was bubbly, talked a mile a minute, a bit too into drama club for my taste, but she was just a kid. The dynamic shifted as we got older, especially when Robert started treating Chloe more like his own child than he ever treated me. I graduated college, got a congrats text. Chloe passed her driver's test, brand new car. He skipped my wedding rehearsal dinner because it was Chloe's opening night for a play. It wasn't just favoritism, it felt like a constant cutting edge. And Brenda? She only amplified it. Always fawning over Chloe, always calling me the quiet one, like it was some kind of flaw. So, I learned to keep my distance, stay polite, never make a ripple. But this was for Olivia. And Olivia, bless her heart, always tried to bridge the gap with my family, even when I honestly didn't want to. She never once said a bad word about Chloe. Not even after Chloe wore a white dress to our wedding, or gave a toast that somehow morphed into a monologue about her own upcoming birthday. I still remember Olivia's tight smile, her fingers clutching mine under the table. "She's just young," she'd whispered. "Let's not ruin our night." This year, though, I was giving Olivia the perfect night, no matter what. I booked her favorite restaurant, a little Italian gem downtown with flickering candlelight and a live violinist. Weeks in advance, I reserved the private back room, customized the menu with all her favorite dishes. I even designed a slideshow, years of our memories, set to music, to play on a TV above the fireplace. Yellow flowers, her absolute favorite. Exactly 30 candles on the cake. Every single detail? Triple-checked. Her friends, her coworkers, even her old college roommate flew in just for the occasion. And yes, I invited Robert, Brenda, and Chloe. Because Olivia would want them there. Because some naive part of me still hoped, maybe this time, my dad would actually step up, finally act like a father. The first clue came a week before the dinner. Robert called, chirping about updates on the party. I froze. "Updates?" I asked, my gut clenching. "You're not planning anything, are you?" He chuckled, a little too easily. "Just thought I'd take some pressure off you, son. You've got a lot on your plate." I tried to keep my voice even. "Dad, I've handled everything. Just show up. That's all I need." "Got it," he said, a touch too quickly. "Of course. Just show up." Then, the day before the dinner, a text from Brenda. A smiling emoji. No context. Then, "Chloe is going to look so cute tomorrow." I stared at my phone, utterly baffled. What did that even mean? I typed back, "You mean Olivia, right?" No response. The next morning, Chloe posted an Instagram story. "Getting a blowout. Nails done." Caption: "Big night coming." Not a single mention of Olivia. My stomach started to churn. I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe Chloe had another event. Maybe she was just getting dolled up to support my wife. Maybe I was just paranoid from years of feeling like a second-class citizen. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what happened that evening. We arrived right on time. Olivia looked breathtaking. A light blue dress, her hair curled just the way I loved it. She squeezed my hand as we neared the door. "You didn't have to do all this," she whispered, her voice full of tenderness. "I wanted to," I told her. "You deserve it." I pushed the door open, and that's when it hit me like a physical blow. Pink. Everywhere. Pink balloons, pink streamers, and a massive banner stretched across the wall, sparkling with glitter. "Happy 26th birthday, Chloe." The tables held little cards that read "Chloe's night." And the cake, oh God, the cake was a 3-tiered monstrosity with her face printed on top. I turned to Olivia. Her face was pale, her mouth opening and closing silently. Then the room erupted. "Happy birthday to you." "Happy birthday, dear Chloe." Olivia didn't move. Chloe bounced toward us, wearing a literal tiara. "Ethan." "Olivia." "You made it," she shrieked, pulling Olivia into a hug as if everything was perfectly normal. "Isn't this amazing? Robert and Brenda did everything." I had no idea. "Neither did we," I mumbled under my breath. Robert clapped me on the back, a wide grin plastered on his face, as if he hadn't just orchestrated a social massacre. "We figured we'd combine the celebrations. 2 birthdays, 1 big night. Efficient, right?" I just stared at him. "This isn't her birthday. Her birthday is in July." He just grinned wider. "Well, we're celebrating it tonight, aren't we?" Olivia gently pulled away, her eyes glistening. She didn't say a word. She just walked toward the restroom, her shoulders shaking with every step. I stood there, frozen, my fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. That was it. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't some clumsy misunderstanding or poor communication. This was deliberate. This was a hostile takeover. And I was not, under any circumstances, going to let it slide. I took a deep, shaky breath, slowly turned back to the room, and scanned every smug, unbothered face in the crowd. Right then, I knew. This was war. I didn't follow Olivia immediately. A part of me knew she needed a moment alone. And frankly, I wasn't sure I could trust myself not to absolutely explode. I just stood there in the doorway, trying to catch my breath. My hands were still half curled into fists, the nail marks deep in my palms. My ears were ringing, not from the noise of the party, but from the sheer rage, the disbelief, the sick, sinking feeling in my gut. The realization that no matter how hard I tried to give my wife something special, someone in my family would always find a way to stomp all over it. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually, someone shoved a plastic flute of champagne into my hand. "Loosen up, Ethan." Brenda chirped, laughing. "You look like someone died." I looked at her, really looked at her, and she was beaming. She was dressed like she was attending the Met Gala, a rhinestone dress, chunky gold earrings that screamed, "Look at me." She linked arms with Chloe, who was gleefully tearing open a designer clutch from one of her friends. Olivia had wanted a simple dinner, maybe a nice book or a spa gift card. Chloe was already on her 3rd luxury brand item of the night. "I thought this was Olivia's night," I said, my voice dangerously low, trying desperately to keep it steady. Brenda blinked at me as if I'd just started speaking Martian. "Well, yes and no," she chirped, tilting her head. "Chloe's birthday is only 2 days before hers, so we thought it'd be cute to do a little joint celebration. Saves everyone a trip." "This isn't a joint celebration," I retorted, the anger finally seeping through. "This is her party." "You replaced everything." "Oh, please," she scoffed, "you didn't even have a real theme." "I mean, yellow flowers? That's not festive." "This," she waved a hand grandly around the pink monstrosity, "this is a party." I didn't answer. I just turned and walked away, heading straight for the restroom. Olivia was sitting on a little velvet bench by the sinks, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She wasn't openly crying anymore, but her expression was utterly blank. It was that quiet, devastating kind of pain, like all the air had been sucked out of her. She saw me in the mirror and offered a weak, ghost of a smile. "I'm so sorry," I choked out. Her lips trembled. "It's not your fault." "It is, though," I insisted. "I should have known they'd try something. I should have. God, I should have triple-checked everything." She slowly stood up, smoothing her dress. "You tried, Ethan. You did more than anyone's ever done for me. That room, it was never meant for me. That was a show for them. For Chloe." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Do you want to leave? We can go somewhere else. Just the two of us. Right now." She hesitated. "Part of me does, but part of me doesn't want them to win." That was Olivia in a nutshell. Kind, loyal, and far, far stronger than anyone realized. I nodded. So we walked back in. And that was the exact moment I decided, if they wanted to play games, fine. I'd play. But I wasn't going to play nice anymore. At first, I tried to keep it together. I found Olivia's friends and coworkers, the few people from her book club, all clumped awkwardly in a corner. No one knew what to do. They'd shown up for Olivia's birthday, only to find themselves under a banner with someone else's face on it. "I'm so sorry," I whispered to her coworker, Sarah. "This isn't what we planned." Sarah leaned in. "We figured." Olivia mentioned her favorite color was yellow, not pink. "And this." She trailed off, glancing at Chloe, who was holding court in the center of the room, loudly recounting a story from her recent trip to Bali. "This is something else entirely." I thanked her, then sat beside Olivia, who hadn't touched her plate. Across the room, Robert raised his glass. "Speech," someone called out. I groaned under my breath. Robert stood up. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" He clinked his glass. "We're here to celebrate someone very special tonight. Someone who lights up every room she walks into, who brings so much joy to all our lives, our dear Chloe." Applause erupted. Chloe did a little princess wave from her chair. Olivia just stared at her plate. And of course, Robert added, almost as an afterthought, "We'd also like to wish Olivia a happy birthday as well." A scattered, awkward clap. Someone coughed. Chloe then stood, snatched the mic from the DJ. Yes, they'd hired a DJ, and launched into a 5-minute thank you speech that included phrases like, "My journey through self-love and influencing is a full-time job." When she finally sat down, the music blared again, some bass-heavy pop song, and Brenda pulled Robert up to dance. Olivia turned to me, her voice a fragile whisper. "This is like watching someone else's dream while you're trapped in their nightmare." I didn't laugh. I was too consumed by a cold, burning anger. But I still hadn't seen the worst part. That came about 20 minutes later when the slideshow started. The one I'd made. The one I'd spent hours curating with our photos, from college to marriage, vacations, goofy selfies on the couch. I'd added music, transitions, quotes that meant something only to us. Only now it had been altered. The first slide popped up and I froze. It was Chloe as a baby, with a sparkly title, Princess Chloe, A Life in Pictures. The photos kept rolling. Chloe at ballet. Chloe at graduation. Chloe in a bikini on a beach. Chloe posing with a dog. Every single slide, a tribute to her. "Where's ours?" Olivia whispered, a faint tremor in her voice. I was already on my feet. I found the restaurant manager near the bar and asked to speak to the AV guy. He looked confused. "The man who brought the USB said to play it when the cake comes out." "What man?" I asked, even though I already knew. "Older guy, gray hair, tan jacket." "Of course." I strode over, grabbed the mic from the DJ, and cut the music. "Sorry," I announced, my voice cutting through the sudden silence. "There's been a mistake. That slideshow wasn't meant to be played tonight." Murmurs rippled through the room. Chloe looked like she'd been slapped. Robert walked up, chuckling awkwardly. "Ethan, don't make a scene. You replaced the slideshow I made for my wife." I said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "I spent days working on that. You took it and swapped it for this." "It's a shared night," he said, coolly. We thought it would be nice to include Chloe. This was never supposed to be about Chloe. I snapped, my control finally cracking. This was Olivia's birthday. I invited you. I planned this, and you hijacked it. Brenda swooped in. You're being dramatic. We thought this would be more fun. I looked at Olivia. Her eyes were shining again, but she wasn't crying. She was done. Emotionally checked out, sitting perfectly still in her chair, like the whole thing was a bad dream she was just waiting to wake up from. I turned to face the crowd. I'm truly sorry to all of you who came here for Olivia. She didn't deserve this. None of this was what we planned. My father and his wife decided this night should be about someone else. The DJ cut the mic. Robert shot me a look. You've embarrassed us. No, I countered, you did that all on your own. Then, as if the universe needed to hammer the point home, the cake came out. 3 tiers, pink frosting, happy birthday, Chloe piped across in cursive. Olivia stood up. I think I've had enough, she said softly. I followed her out. But we didn't go home. Because that wasn't the end. Something had cracked open in me that night. Not just anger, not just disappointment, but something deeper, something that had been building for years. This wasn't just one ruined birthday. This was every birthday, every holiday, every moment I'd been pushed aside. Every time my dad acted like I was optional. Every moment Chloe was given the spotlight without earning it. Every time Brenda made my wife feel small. It was all adding up. And I was done. No more polite smiles. No more quiet tolerance. I was going to make this right. But not by yelling. Not by arguing. No. I had a better idea. And once the plan started taking shape in my mind, I couldn't stop it. It was too perfect, too poetic. Because if they wanted to make everything about Chloe, then I'd give them a night they'd never forget. We didn't say much in the car. Olivia sat staring out the window, her hands folded neatly in her lap, like she was physically trying to hold herself together. I kept glancing at her, desperate for words that wouldn't sound utterly hollow. What do you even say after something like that? Sorry your birthday was hijacked by a grown woman in a tiara? Sorry my family thinks you're invisible? Everything felt pathetic compared to the raw wound of what had just happened. We ended up at this little late-night diner, one of those spots with cracked red leather booths and coffee that tastes like it's been brewing since the 80s. The waitress didn't recognize us. Didn't know whose birthday it was or what kind of night we'd had. And that, in itself, made it the perfect place. We ordered pancakes. At midnight. And for the first time in hours, Olivia smiled. That's when I knew we weren't broken. Bent? Sure. Bruised? Definitely. But Olivia didn't need a spotlight. She just needed someone who would truly see her. And I wasn't going to let anyone dim that light again. Especially not my family. Still, the days following that night were brutal. The fallout hit fast. Brenda sent a long, incredibly condescending text about how disappointed she was in my outburst. She called me immature, said I'd embarrassed Chloe in front of her friends. Not one word about Olivia. Not one sentence acknowledging the sabotage or the deep hurt they'd caused. Robert? Radio silence. Not a call, not even a hey, let's talk. The only person who did text me, shockingly, was Chloe. Her message read, didn't realize you were going to be so territorial over a dinner party. I hope this doesn't cause long-term drama. That would be exhausting. I didn't respond. What could I even say to that? After that, we ghosted them. Didn't show up to Brenda's birthday. Skipped Chloe's influencer milestone party. Don't ask. My phone rang a few times, but I ignored it. Olivia and I needed space. We needed to breathe without their constant noise in our ears. But silence has a price. It didn't take long for the whispers to start. My cousin texted me, hey, I heard you screamed at Robert during Chloe's party. What happened? I hadn't screamed. I'd raised my voice once. Another relative chimed in, heard Olivia stormed out crying. You okay, man? That was the narrative now. Not the truth. Just the version where I was the problem, where Olivia couldn't handle sharing the spotlight, where I ruined Chloe's big night. I didn't even try to correct them. I was just too tired. And that's when the real low point hit. One morning, Olivia found an old birthday card in the mail, postmarked before the party. It was from Robert. a cheesy Hallmark card with a pre-written poem, and a $25 gift card to Chili's. There wasn't a single handwritten word inside. Not even happy birthday. She laughed. This bitter, disbelieving little sound, then quietly put it in the trash. She didn't cry. Not this time. That made it worse. It was around then I finally realized I was holding on to something that didn't exist anymore. Or maybe never had. A version of my dad who would step up, truly see me, respect my choices, love my wife. But that man wasn't coming. So, I made a decision. I was done chasing validation from people who couldn't even say my wife's name in a toast. I poured all my energy into rebuilding. Not for revenge, not yet. But for us. First, I started with Olivia. She'd always talked about opening her own Etsy shop. She makes the most beautiful hand-painted bookmarks, pressed flower journals, delicate watercolor prints. She dabbled here and there, but between her demanding work and the crushing stress, it never quite took off. So, I turned our guest room into a mini studio, bought her better supplies, helped her photograph everything. I built her a clean, simple website, wrote descriptions, even designed her a little logo. Nothing flashy, just something that screamed, I believe in you. She cried when she saw it. Good tears this time. We listed her first 20 items in April. By June, she'd shipped over 200 orders. Then came the local market invites, a feature on a craft blog, a brand collaboration with a stationery company. I watched her come alive again, slowly but surely. Every sale gave her a new surge of confidence. Every customer review praising her creativity and kindness chipped away at the damage Brenda and Chloe had inflicted. And the more I poured into her success, the more I found myself climbing out of my own emotional fog. I'm a graphic designer by trade. For years, I'd been stuck in a soul-crushing job, basically a human mouse clicker, churning out corporate flyers for people who couldn't tell Helvetica from Comic Sans. It paid the bills, but I hated every second. Helping Olivia reminded me that I had something to offer, too. So, I dusted off some old side projects. Started freelancing on weekends. Redesigned a logo for a friend's coffee shop, took on a brand refresh for a nonprofit. The gigs started picking up. One night, Olivia walked in and caught me working late. You know, she said, a soft smile playing on her lips, you don't look miserable anymore. I grinned back. I don't feel miserable anymore. By the end of summer, I'd made enough from freelance work to seriously consider quitting my full-time job. I hesitated. Old fears crept in. Asterisk, what if I failed? What if the income dried up? Asterisk, but Olivia looked me straight in the eye and said, if you don't bet on yourself now, Ethan, when will you? So, I took the leap. Put in my 2 weeks. And just like that, we were both working from home, building something together, supporting each other. Without the noise. Without the guilt. Without the constant family drama weighing us down. It wasn't always perfect. We had slow weeks, frustrating printer meltdowns, but it felt real. And through it all, my family? They stayed silent. Except for one time in August. Robert called. I let it ring. He called again the next day. This time, curious, I picked up. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask about Olivia. He just said, Chloe's planning a big birthday bash next month. Brenda wants to know if you're coming. She's hoping you two can patch things up. My mouth went dry. I waited for him to say more. Anything. He didn't. So I asked, are you calling because you want us there or because she told you to? There was a long pause. Then he sighed. Look, I don't want this to drag on, Ethan. It's family. We move on. That's what we do. That's what you do, I countered, my voice steady. You bury it. Pretend nothing happened. Expect everyone else to smile through the pain. I told him, tell Brenda we're not interested. He sighed again, heavily. You're really going to hold a grudge over one dinner? One dinner. I repeated, the incredulity thick in my voice. Do you even know what you did? What she did? She was trying to make the night special for everyone. You overreacted. I almost laughed. Overreacted? I'm not going to explain this to you again, I said, cutting him off. We're done bending over backward to be part of a family that doesn't want us. Then I hung up. And this time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. That fall, Olivia got invited to speak on a panel about small business branding. She wore a yellow dress, radiant and confident, talking about creativity, burnout, and how sometimes the very things that break you can lead to the things that build you back up stronger than ever. I watched from the front row, grinning like an absolute idiot, my heart swelling. Later, she told me, "I said all that because of you." I kissed her forehead. "I rebuilt because of you." And that was the honest truth. Because while Robert and Brenda were still throwing parties with pink banners and glitter tiaras, Olivia and I were quietly building a life they'd never understand. One rooted in respect, unwavering support, and a real partnership. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't still think about that night sometimes. About how they stole something that didn't belong to them. How they hijacked a moment meant for someone who had shown nothing but grace and kindness, even to people who truly didn't deserve it. And yeah, I could have just let it go. Could have taken the high road, forgotten the whole thing. But the thing about hitting rock bottom is, once you start climbing, you see everything differently. You see who's cheering you on. You see who's actively weighing you down. And sometimes, you realize the best revenge isn't just success. Sometimes, the best revenge is finally letting the truth come to light. Which is exactly what I was about to do. But not in the way anyone expected. There's something incredibly liberating about deciding you have nothing left to prove. For years, I'd walked on eggshells around Robert's house, constantly trying not to seem too sensitive, too bitter, too dramatic. I'd kept my mouth shut when Chloe's name was plastered all over every family group chat, when she got the biggest slice of attention at every gathering, when Robert spoke about her with a pride in his voice he never once had for me. But after Olivia and I rebuilt our lives, after we finally stepped away from the chaos and chose peace over proximity, I started to feel something I hadn't in a long, long time. Control. Not control over them. People like Brenda and Chloe never give that up willingly, but control over my own story, my narrative. And the more I leaned into it, the more I realized this wasn't about petty revenge. It was about setting the record straight. About standing up for the woman I loved. And maybe, just maybe, giving them a little taste of their own medicine. It all started with a message request. A woman named Jessica reached out on Instagram. I didn't recognize her at first, but when I clicked her profile, there was a familiar face. She'd been one of Chloe's bridesmaids at Brenda's second wedding, way back when Chloe was still in high school. Her bio now said lifestyle blogger, and judging by her 40K followers and meticulously curated brunch posts, she was doing quite well. Her message was short. "Hey Ethan, I know this is random, but I've been meaning to say, I was at that birthday dinner. What they did to Olivia was disgusting. I'm so sorry." That instantly caught my attention. I thanked her, and we started chatting. Turns out, she'd been at the dinner as a +1 for one of Chloe's influencer friends. She'd only gone for networking, but ended up witnessing the entire train wreck. "You could feel how awkward it was," she wrote, and Chloe acting like it was totally normal? Gross. Then she sent me a photo. It was from that night. Someone had snapped a picture of Chloe, beaming in front of the giant "Happy Birthday, Chloe" banner, with Olivia in the background, completely out of focus, standing beside the bathroom hallway, arms folded tightly, her eyes staring off into nothing. The contrast was brutal. Jessica followed it up with, "Honestly, if people knew how calculated Chloe and Brenda are, their perfect image would crumble overnight." I asked her what she meant. And that's when things started to really fall into place. Jessica told me Brenda and Chloe had been tirelessly working to position Chloe as the face of a new wellness collective aimed at women in their 20s. It was a slick mix of online coaching, product placements, and Instagram perfect retreats. Very curated, very aesthetic, all about empowerment and inner peace. Chloe had even launched a new Instagram under the brand name Glow with Chloe, filled with pastel quotes and daily affirmations. The account had just passed 100K followers. She wants to be a brand, Jessica explained. She's pitching herself to podcast networks, pitching retreats to big brands. If something ugly went public, that carefully constructed image would crack fast. Now, let me be clear. I wasn't out to destroy anyone's life. But when someone builds a public persona on lies that directly hurt the people I love, I think it's fair to shine a little light on the truth. Not as vengeance, but as balance. And now I had a window. Over the next few weeks, I did my homework. I combed through every public video, every caption, every Chloe tip of the day she posted. Most of it was harmless fluff: how to do a vision board, how to drink more lemon water. But sprinkled throughout were subtle digs. Passive-aggressive phrases like, "Don't let jealous people dim your shine," or "Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, not compete with you." One post, though, stood out. It was a video, soft piano music playing, where Chloe looked tearfully into the camera and declared, "When people tried to sabotage my birthday, I didn't fight back. I chose love. Because that's who I am." It had over 600,000 views. The comments were full of hearts. "You're so strong. People can be so toxic, girl." I felt sick. Olivia hadn't even spoken at that dinner. She didn't storm out. She didn't scream. She quietly left after being ignored and humiliated. And now she was being cast as the villain in Chloe's self-pity saga? No, not this time. That's when I started planning. The timing was almost too perfect. Chloe's upcoming Glow with Chloe launch event was scheduled for October. An in-person retreat, charging $800 per person for a weekend of emotional release, luxury picnics, and sisterhood. She'd booked a vineyard 2 hours away and already had over 150 people signed up. And guess who else was planning to be there? Brenda. She was handling registration and logistics and, according to Jessica, was using Robert's connections, my dad's, that is, to secure permits and press coverage. They even had a local lifestyle magazine scheduled to attend, ready to run a feature piece on Chloe's rise as a wellness influencer. It was all about image, which gave me the perfect target. I didn't want to crash the event. I didn't want to make a scene. I wanted to undermine the foundation, quietly, surgically, just like they'd done to Olivia. First, I called a friend named Daniel. Daniel runs a small production studio and used to freelance with me on graphic design projects. He also happened to be dating someone who worked at the very magazine set to cover Chloe's retreat. I asked him, off the record, if they'd be open to a fuller picture of the event and its host. He hesitated. "You're not asking me to sabotage a story, are you?" "No," I replied, "I'm asking you to make sure the story is real. Because the woman they're planning to spotlight built her brand on someone else's tears, and I have the receipts." I sent him the video clip of Chloe's tearful monologue. Then the picture Jessica had taken at the dinner, the one with Olivia blurred in the background. Then I sent him a private document I'd been working on for weeks, a meticulously detailed timeline of what actually happened at that birthday dinner. Quotes, photos, screenshots of Brenda's texts, Chloe's passive-aggressive messages, Olivia's original birthday invite design, even the invoice from the restaurant proving my name was on the deposit. Daniel whistled. "You weren't kidding." He promised to pass it along. Next, I called Sarah, Olivia's coworker who had been at the dinner, and asked if she'd be willing to share her version of events with a writer from the magazine, anonymously. She didn't even hesitate. Absolutely. What they did to Olivia was vile. Then I reached out to Jessica again. "I've got something," she texted. Screenshots from a group chat Chloe was in with some other influencer girls. She was bragging about how she stole the party and how Ethan will get over it once he sees how much press I get. OMG. "Yes," I typed back, a chilling satisfaction spreading through me. "Yes, you do." At that point, I was building a case file bigger than any courtroom drama. But I wasn't planning to just hand it over to the press. I had a more poetic idea. I built a website. A clean, simple one. It didn't name names. It didn't directly accuse anyone of anything. It simply laid out a story, told from the perspective of a husband trying to do something kind for his wife, and how it was quietly, meticulously hijacked. It included excerpts from the speech I would have given that night. It included photos, quotes, and a gentle, heartbreaking reflection on what happens when people prioritize attention over basic human kindness. The title? This Was Her Night. I didn't publicize it. Not right away. I waited. Because there was one more piece. One thing that would guarantee it couldn't be ignored. Olivia. I asked her if she wanted to write something for the website. Something small, just a note. She stared at the blank page for a long, long time. Then she wrote, "I never wanted a spotlight. I just wanted to feel seen." It's hard to explain what it's like to be erased in real time. To have people smile at you while tearing your name off the wall. But I've learned that silence is not grace. Kindness doesn't mean surrender. And I'm not invisible anymore. When I read it, a calm certainty settled over me. We were ready. All we had to do was wait for the event. And when Chloe's big day arrived, when the magazine posted their glowing pre-event teaser, when the guests began flooding the vineyard in sundresses and flower crowns, I activated the site. One link. One anonymous Twitter post. One Reddit thread. Within hours, this was her night started making the rounds, quietly, subtly, until it wasn't so quiet anymore. Until people started asking questions. Until someone at the retreat whispered, "Hey, did you read that post?" And that's when the real fallout began. The first text came in 2 hours after I launched the site. It was from Jessica. "People at the retreat are whispering. Some of them are literally reading it on their phones while Chloe is talking." I sat on our back porch, phone in hand, Olivia beside me, both of us watching the sun dip behind the neighbor's fence. The air was thick, heavy, like it was holding its breath. Then the second text arrived. "Sarah, this time, the article's been pulled." I blinked. "What article?" I texted back. "The profile piece on Chloe. It's gone. The mag just deleted the teaser from Insta too." Whole comment section disappeared. I refreshed the page myself. Gone. Vanished without a trace. Chloe had spent the last 3 months promoting this event like it was her coronation. She teased it on every platform, hinted at exciting coverage, promised her followers something that would put Glow with Chloe on the map. That profile was the centerpiece of her personal brand. Now, poof. I turned to Olivia. "They pulled it." She tilted her head. "Already?" She smiled, but didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. By the next morning, things were spiraling. Chloe posted a vague story, just a blurry selfie with the caption, "When people try to drag your name through the mud because they can't stand your light." It got traction, sure, but in the comments, the tone had shifted drastically. People weren't clapping back at the haters anymore. They were asking questions. One user wrote, "Are you talking about that story going around about the birthday party? Is it true?" Another posted, "I really hope this isn't about the girl whose dinner got hijacked." That was awful. Chloe didn't respond. Instead, Brenda stepped in. She posted a long-winded Facebook status, calling the whole thing a cruel smear campaign from a bitter ex-family member, and accused certain people of spreading lies to ruin a young woman's career. It would have sounded more convincing if she hadn't ended it with, "Some people just can't handle when others shine brighter than them." That line backfired spectacularly. A few of Brenda's own relatives, yes, her own, started commenting under the post. "I was at that dinner," one cousin wrote. "Olivia looked like she was going to cry the whole night. You guys didn't even acknowledge her." Someone else added, "This isn't the first time Chloe made everything about herself. I remember when she wore white to Ethan and Olivia's wedding." Then came the screenshots. Anonymous accounts began posting bits and pieces of the group chat Jessica had leaked to me. The one where Chloe bragged about hijacking the party, how she deserved a big night, and how Olivia should be grateful for even being mentioned. They weren't doctored. There was no spin. Just plain, brutal honesty. Chloe tried to deny it, claimed the messages were fake. Then, one of the girls in the chat confirmed it was real. The dominoes fell hard after that. Sponsors started quietly distancing themselves. A wellness tea company removed Chloe's discount code from their website. A skincare brand untagged her on their product page. The Glow with Chloe account started bleeding followers, 10K in a day, then 20K. Her retreat attendance for day 2 dropped by nearly half. People simply left the vineyard mid-session. No shouting, no picketing, just quiet disappointment. Just people who didn't want to support someone who built her empire on erasing someone else's joy. Olivia didn't post anything. She didn't need to. The story, her story, had done what it needed to do. For the first time in years, my side of the family saw the truth. A few relatives reached out. Some apologized. Some just said they finally understood. I didn't respond to most of them. Not out of malice, just a need for peace. Sometimes people need to sit in the silence they created. The only call I did take was from Robert. He sounded tired, utterly embarrassed, like someone who had just realized the golden pedestal he'd built was now violently wobbling. "I didn't know it was that bad," he said quietly. "You never wanted to know," I replied, my voice flat. He was quiet for a moment. "Then, is there any way we can fix this?" I looked across the room at Olivia, who was sitting at her desk, gently packing a new journal order into tissue paper, humming softly under her breath. "No," I said. "But we're okay. We're more than okay." He sighed. "I'm sorry, Ethan. For all of it." I believed him. But I also knew that sorry didn't put the candles back on Olivia's cake. It didn't give her back the toast she never got, the slideshow she never saw, or the look on her face when we walked into that restaurant. So I said, "I appreciate the call," and hung up. And that was the last time I spoke to him. The months that followed were quiet, peaceful. Olivia's shop kept growing, blooming. She started donating a portion of her sales to women's shelters, got invited to a local artist collective. One of her hand-painted bookmarks even ended up in a celebrity's book club post. I took on more design clients, launched a small business course online. We collaborated on a series of journal templates and digital art packs that took off more than we ever expected. Our home felt lighter, filled with a different kind of energy. No more tiptoeing around passive-aggressive texts from Brenda. No more endless, "Should we go to this thing for Chloe?" debates. It was just us. Happy. Whole. Building something real, with no strings attached, no shadows lingering. And Chloe? She tried to claw her way back. Posted teary-eyed apologies that felt more like damage control than genuine reflection. Rebranded her account twice. Changed her profile bio from "Glow with Chloe" to "Just a girl trying to heal." But the internet doesn't forget. The damage was done. And the funny thing? I never revealed it was me. The site is still anonymous, still live, still circulating every few months when someone rediscovers it. The truth didn't need my name attached. The story spoke for itself. Some say revenge is best served cold. But I think the best revenge is clarity. Not chaos, not confrontation, just the calm, quiet unveiling of the truth and watching it do what it always does, set people free. One afternoon, about a year later, Olivia and I returned to the restaurant where it all happened. They'd remodeled since then, new paint, different lighting, even some new staff. But the backroom was still there. We asked for it. The hostess paused, a curious smile on her face. "Special occasion?" Olivia smiled, a wide, genuine, breathtaking smile. She reached across the table, taking my hand. "Yes," she said. "It's his birthday. What would you have done if you walked into that restaurant?"